Hi, I'm Jennifer McKittrick, and this is part of the Lincoln Modern Quilt Guild Back to Basics series. And one of the basic units in quilt making is the half square triangle. As you see, the half square triangle isn't a triangle, it's a square made of two triangles. So I'm going to show you some of the different kinds of patterns you can make with half square triangles, and then show you 6 ways how to make them. So this is a Lemoyne Star and Pinwheel quilt I made with 360 half square triangles. This is a envelope kids quilt I made with half square triangles. This quilt is made with 2 different size half square triangles, all oriented in the same direction. This quilt uses half square triangles to make diamonds and spaces them with a few background squares. Alright, so there are also other interesting quilts you can make with half square triangles mixed with other units. So behind me is a Jacob's Ladder quilt with half square triangles and 4 patch blocks. And this is a Hunter Star quilt with half square triangles and squares. So the first thing you got to understand about fabric when you're making a half square triangle unit is the difference between straight of grain and bias. So quilter's cotton is woven, you've got straight threads here, but this way is on the diagonal and it's much stretchier and much less stable. So you got to watch out for that when you're making half square triangles. Now, the most basic way to make a half square triangle is to take the 2 colors you want to use in your unit and cut from corner to corner. Put them right sides together and sew a 1/4 inch seam right down there. And then open it up and iron it, you'll have a half square triangle. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm trying to make blocks that come out 4 inches finished. That'll be 4.5 inches with seam allowances. And the formula for doing that is adding 7/8 of an inch to what you want your finished block to be. So if I wanted 4-inch finished blocks, I would cut my squares 4 7/8. Now, what I would rather do is just cut my squares 5 inches, make my half square triangles, and then trim down to 4.5, and then I'm going to have a 4-inch finished unit. Now, the thing I was saying about biased edges is that when you cut first, you're sewing on the bias, and that might stretch in your machine. So a different way to do it to avoid that issue is to first draw a line corner to corner and then sew a 1/4 inch seam on either side of that line. And I've already done that right here. And so then you can just cut on your drawn line. You don't have to worry about sewing open bias because you've sewn before you cut it. And then open it up and you've got your half square triangle. You're going to press it towards the dark side and then trim it down to 4.5 inches. And then when you do that, you'll cut off these little extra pieces of fabric hanging off there that we call dog ears. Alright, so those are 2 ways to do it. There's another way, is to start with 7-inch squares, put them right sides together, and sew a 1/4 inch all the way around the perimeter. And you end up with something like this. And so then, let me get a different ruler, a longer ruler. What you're going to do is now cut this corner to corner. And so when you open it up, you end up with 4 half square triangles. And that's fine, except now you've got your bias on the outside edge. And if that's a problem with you, this is not the method for you. Okay, so here's another method where you take 3.5 inch strips if you want to end up with a 4 inch finished half square triangle. And this time you're going to sew a 1/4 inch down one edge and then down the other to make a tube. And I've already done that right here. And then you're going to take a special ruler called the strip tube ruler and put the line on 4.5 on your stitch line, cut up one side. I can't cut upside down. Turn that around. Cut on both sides, open it up, you've got a half square triangle. And then you would turn your strip tube ruler over and do that on the other side, and then all the way down your strip. Now again, the problem with that is you've got bias on the outside. So, so those two, you might want to beware of those methods. Okay, I wanted to mention that you could do this tube method if you want to, even if you don't have a strip tube ruler. If you have a square ruler with a diagonal line on it, you put the diagonal on the stitch line, and then the side of your ruler should intersect with the point of your triangle, and then just cut. And there you go. Undo a few stitches, and there's your half square triangle that way. Alright, so I want to show you another method, starting with 10-inch squares. You put your two together and draw a line from corner to corner. Okay, and corner to corner the other way. And now I like to line up one of the lines on the ruler with a line I've already drawn. That way I know that they're at right angles to each other, and again, corner to corner. Okay, so now you're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from both of these lines, up and back that way, up and back that way, and I've already done that right here. So I'm going to cut this square in half this way, and in half this way, and then I'm going to cut on the diagonal this way. A rotating mat is helpful here, and try to do it without moving your pieces around too much. I'm going to cut on the diagonal the last way, and so from 2 10-inch squares you end up with 8 half square triangles. This is known as the Easy 8, and they come out nice with a straighter grain on the edges and ready to trim down to 4.5 inches. Alright, this is the 6th way and the last way that I'm going to show you. And this way results in making 24 half square triangles at once. So I'm starting off with 2 fat quarters, and I press them, put them right sides together. Then I'm going to trim this down to 15 by 20 inches. And then I'm going to, once I've got it trimmed down, I'm going to go from the edge and draw a line every 5 inches in each direction. And then I'm going to draw diagonal lines. So I've already done that, and I'll show you what I mean. So here are my horizontal lines, my vertical lines, and then I started in the corner and connected all the corners all the way around until each square in the grid had a diagonal line through it. And then, as you can see, I've already gone along and sewed a 1/4 inch away from all of my diagonal lines. Now, I think you can see where this is going, in that I'm going to cut on the straight lines first. Cut on another straight line. Cut on this diagonal line. Am I way off? Okay, and then got a half square triangle. You cut up the whole thing. Of course, there are more efficient ways of cutting it up, but you cut it all up and you end up with 24 half square triangles, and trim them down to 4.5 inches, and that's a really quick and easy way of getting some nice half square triangles, straight of grain on the outside, bias is all sewn up. And if you need a lot of half square triangles of the same color scheme, this is a good way to do it. So those are 6 ways of making half square triangles. I hope that helps you out, and happy quilting.